This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What's up, Detroit sports fans? Welcome to the Fan Report Show made by fans for fans, powered by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick, and joining me today is our boy Andrew's going to give us this week's topics.
Topics. I mean, we got one, and we should be talking about this ugly Lions game that we had to witness today.
Let's talk about topics.
So yeah, it's a Fan Report.
All right. Well, today was a tough one to swallow. We saw the Lions jump out real quick to an early lead, like a couple of minutes, and everybody's going, "Ooh, look at this!"
And then they took a knee.
How about two? They took two knees. The rest of the game was pretty much pitiful. That may have been one of the worst defensive showings I've watched in a long time.
I don't think I've ever watched a team give up straight 5 possessions that go for touchdowns.
The Saints just methodically marched down the field and every single drive repeatedly. It was brutal. They give them the ball with 2 minutes left in the half and give up a touchdown. Ensuing drive coming out of the half.
They escorted him to the end zone on that.
Yes, they did.
In that sequence.
They did. And then coming out of the half, all right, new half, let's go, let's get it back. Touchdown. They give it up. They made a B list, a B team Saints team look real good. And I mean real good. This was not the Saints' best team today at all.
Not even close.
No. They were missing pretty much almost all of their big-time playmakers. Michael Thomas, out. Never showed his face. No Jared Cook. Never showed his face. Andres Pete, out. Big-time guard, big-time lineman for them. Taron Armstead got hurt, missed, I think it was a whole quarter, and was banged up the rest of the way.
Marshawn Lattimore, out.
Ryan Ramczyk played about half the game, missed the rest. Their O-line was down to a bunch of backups and a couple of guys. They had Kamara, who looked pretty good today.
Oh, and don't forget Janoris Jenkins and Marcus Davenport.
Oh, yeah. Marcus Davenport, out. Janoris Jenkins, out. Marshawn Lattimore, out. And then they had a whole heap of injuries during the game.
So for anybody who's using injuries as an excuse for the Bears game, don't want to hear it.
I don't either. It's not an excuse at this point. Other football teams in this league can have player after player after playmaker after playmaker go down with an injury and miss games, and they still find ways to win. The Saints prove that today. Next man up is I know it's just driven into you, and it's a dead horse. It's beating a dead horse like crazy.
It's beaten like a dead horse.
Yes. It's also one of the most cliche, overused terms in football, but it obviously rings true.
Yeah,
because the Saints proved that today. And in all honesty, this Lions team was, for the most part, very healthy today. Kenny Golladay back to pretty much 100%. This is the second game back. No injuries in the backfield. Carry-on was good. DeAndre Swift was ready. AP was ready. Stafford, fully healthy. Marvin Jones, fully healthy. Hawk, fully healthy. Jesse James, fully healthy. Your O-line, everybody's there. You had Big V playing inside today, not outside. You had Tyrell Crosby out there. You had Trufant back. The only guy you're missing in the secondary really is Justin Coleman. What's their excuse today?
I couldn't tell you. How about coaching? I mean, it's not an excuse, but I'll give you the issue is it's coaching.
Oh, 100% it's coaching.
I refuse to believe that NFL players are this bad at defense. I refuse to believe that. You can't tell me you have a team of NFL players and you are letting 5 straight possessions go for touchdowns and not tell me that's on coaching.
It was absolutely abysmal to watch this team play today. It was sad to watch that defense. And the offense stalled. After they put up 14 points, nothing. They struggled to get yards at all and the rest of the way.
And honestly, they didn't even use Kamara as much as they could have.
Oh, God, no.
Drew Brees only checked down to Kamara 3 times.
There was a ton of Latavius Murray out there today, too.
Yeah. They actually beat us with the receivers, which I was like, that's not going to happen. Like, right. I think where you're going to get beat is Kamara, and it just didn't matter if you can stop him or not.
Kamara didn't really beat us today because, like you said, they only checked down to him 3 times. This is the lowest. This was the lowest amount of volume Kamara has had in the passing game this season, and that's where he's arguably the most lethal is in the passing game.
Like
after the catch.
I was watching this game like it could have been worse. I feel like they're taking it easy now in the second half.
Absolutely, it could have been worse. He only had one catch in the first half. Yeah. That could have been a lot worse. Mm-hmm. They decided to continue to feed Latavius Murray and give him carries. Obviously, that worked because we couldn't stop him either.
We made Drew Brees look the best he's looked all season.
Oh, his yards per attempt is going to go up today. He was throwing the ball downfield. He was throwing the ball left. He was throwing the ball right over, like everywhere. He was hitting everywhere all over the field. He looked amazing. He had the one pick, which was a fantastic defensive play on the D-line. Mm-hmm. That was a D-line pick right there. Yeah. Great defensive play. Outside of that, Drew Brees sure looked good.
Yeah. Pretty sure your average, I think, was 13 yards per completion today.
That's a hell of a lot higher. What was his yards per attempt, just out of curiosity?
Per attempt?
Yeah, per attempt, because it was 4.4 going into the game.
Let's see.
Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Just give me a second here. But regardless, it was far higher than anything he's done this year. It was 4.4 going into the game. 4.4, which means for those who aren't following along, it means he does not throw downfield.
I mean, you get a loss for words, and then you think about what we saw on our end of on our end of the ball with Stafford. Stafford, yes, okay, cool. Like he got 3 touchdowns. He looked the worst I've seen him look in a long time today.
He was not good today at all.
Barely got over 50%.
One of those touchdowns was a gift on a PI.
Yep. He barely got over a 50% completion rate. He missed a lot of open receivers. I actually feel like we may have actually won this game if Stafford's balls were on the. Wow, that sounds wrong. Stafford's throws were on the money.
He missed a lot of open receivers today. He missed Marvin Hall in what could have been a big play. He missed a couple more. That
interception when he tried to fade to Hawk, that was a really bad one.
Oh, that was terrible.
He had Hawk on that fade route. If he just threw it a little bit higher.
He did.
I don't know, like he used to that fade route. I remember with Calvin, he used to Stafford used to put on the money all the time. The fade route has become Stafford's bread and butter in the red zone. I don't know what happened there, but
I mean, it was a little bit deeper than the normal Calvin Johnson fade routes. So there is that. That is true. He underthrew and overthrew a lot of receivers. Very rarely was he perfectly on the money today. Mm-hmm. And to answer my question from earlier, Drew Brees' yards per attempt was 9.8.
9.8.
Yes, 9.84, which is more than double his season average. Mm-hmm. More than double. Stafford's was 6.6. It's not good.
And then what was with Patricia decision making? The challenge and the fumble was the most idiotic challenge.
Man, I don't know what he was looking at.
Going for 2 with like 4 minutes left to go. You're down.
You just put it within a possession, and you
down
go
14.
For 2.
You scored a touchdown, and another field goal gets you. I mean, an extra point gets you within 7. But for some reason, you decided to go for 2.
I understand it worked.
Lucky they converted.
Right, I understand it worked, but what was the reasoning to go for it there?
It was him trying to be the smartest man in the room and be like, I'm no longer going to put this up to our defense, and we're just going to end it right here, kind of thing. Like
that, right? And that it was him honestly, like playing scared. Yeah. Because he knew in overtime you weren't stopping that Saints offense. Mm-hmm. You had to get the ball back and win it now. That was he thought that was their only hope. Oh, they couldn't even stop anything. I mean, the Saints.
That final run for the first down seemed like it seemed like a first down run. That did not seem like we're trying to stop them to get the ball back for a chance to win the game.
And in all honesty, like the Lions had an opportunity there because like I said, the Saints were missing most of their O-line. Kamara and Murray each averaged 4.4 and 4.6 respectively on per yards per rush. Mm-hmm. Yards per carry. That number's not great by any means, but I can guarantee you what was the number before Ryan Ramczyk went down? Because it was a totally different number at that point. Because once Ramczyk went down and out of the game, any run to the right side of the line, the strong side, went nowhere. So the Lions had an opportunity because I believe both Kamara and Murray were averaging 6+ yards per carry before Ramczyk went down. You weren't stopping them at all.
Mm-mm. It was ugly. They honestly just could have ran the ball every play. We would have been screwed. We wouldn't have anything to do. And then you also have on that final sequence to end the game, you had that third down play of Traquan Smith. I mean, if Jeff Okudah just turned his head, he was in position to break that pass up. Like, I don't. It's basic things. I don't understand. And I know Okudah wasn't on Traquan Smith the entire game, but
I actually think he was.
We shouldn't Traquan Smith should never be getting 2 touchdowns.
He wasn't on Emmanuel Sanders in this game, from what I saw. I saw Arouarier covering Emmanuel Sanders most of this game. So I think he actually was on Traquan Smith most of the game. They may have switched on and off and just taken the side of the field, but the plays that I saw, Emmanuel Sanders was covered by Arouarier, or True Font, one of the two. So, but either way, Emmanuel Sanders and Traquan Smith made the Lions secondary look bad today. They did. And
Traquan Smith should not be getting 2 TDs against you.
No.
Sorry.
And Emmanuel Sanders having 6 catches for 93 yards. I know it doesn't look all that amazing, but dude had a damn good game. He beat up the Lions, found every hole in the zone that he could find. And in the zone, mind you, looked like a brand new toy the Lions didn't want to give up. Because it didn't work today.
No, today was very much like taking it from last week, what we saw against the Cardinals and what we saw at the beginning of today's game versus the rest of the game. This defense looks like it's very much turnover or bust. Like either we're getting a turnover or you're scoring a touchdown. Like we're not gonna. It's gonna be. I'm pretty sure we have more turnovers in the last 2 games than we actually have forced 3 and outs.
The coaching decisions in this game, like you mentioned, really kind of stuck out to me. You mentioned the challenge in the first half on the fumble that was very obviously not a fumble. Like you could tell in real time it was not a fumble. So what is he seeing when they play the replay on the big screen that shows him it was a fumble? I never understood that. The going for 2 that ended up working but was never a good idea. The constant run plays when you're down by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. The third down run play when you're down by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter with like 7 minutes left or 6 minutes left. None of it made sense to me.
We're not even talking about the clock management towards the end of the game. They were playing like they were up when there was like 6 minutes left. They're down 2 scores. They're running the ball on first down, second down, third down. Like what is going
right? The inability to get after a quarterback who quite literally is incapable of scrambling outside the pocket. They sacked him twice today. And Okwara, in my opinion, actually had a pretty solid game. Romeo Okwara was in the backfield quite a bit today. He missed a sack on the one play. He should have had it. Why won't this team blitz more? Why won't this team create more pressure? The Drew Brees can't scramble.
Yeah.
So for a quarterback who can't scramble and can't throw downfield, why aren't you getting after it? Why aren't you constantly bringing the pressure, trying to force a turnover? You need to be. And we mentioned Stafford didn't look good today. He overthrow, underthrow. He's not looked good this year. His best game was against the Cardinals. Other than that, he's not looked good.
Our running game looked awful.
Oh, God. That was a vintage, modern day Lions running game if I've ever seen it.
The lone bright spot was the few opportunities DeAndre Swift saw. He actually looked good in those few opportunities he got.
He did.
Kerryon Johnson looks like a straight up China doll.
Honestly, he's on his way out, if you ask me. He has zero. It's
disappointing, but I have to agree with you.
He has 0 opportunities in this offense. Even the ones he's given, he doesn't look very good. He can't stay healthy. He's on his way out. There's no question about it. At least if I had to take one positive from today's game, DeAndre Swift looks like he could be a baller. Looks like he could be a playmaker.
We need to get him the ball more.
We do.
We also need to get TJ Hawkinson targeted more. He was targeted even less today.
Yeah, I didn't love that. I didn't love that at all.
The guy is an automatic mismatch. I don't know why I can't really
say he's an automatic mismatch. There's people like Malcolm Jenkins can cover a TJ Hawkinson. He's one of those players that can be all over the field and cover just about anybody. But how many of those guys are out there in this league? Yeah. In most games, a guy like TJ Hawkinson, because of his size and athletic ability, can be a mismatch on any given play. But there's some type of disconnect going on there that I just don't quite understand right now. Because TJ Hawkinson, coming into the season and through the first few weeks, looked like he was going to be good. And now we've seen him just fall off a cliff. I like that they're getting Jesse James a little bit more involved. But again, you've drafted a guy in TJ Hawkinson so highly. Why aren't we utilizing him more? And that brings me to, obviously, both Quinn and Patricia are going to keep their jobs going into the bye week. I would be absolutely shocked if they got fired. We said 0-4, there's a chance. 1-3, there's no chance.
I mean, they should.
They should be fired.
Let's keep that straight.
We straight up saw today Patricia can't coach a football team. And I'll be honest with you, the more I'm looking at the list of names that Bob Quinn has missed on in the draft, why does this guy still have a job? You look at his second-round picks in his 5 years. Ashawn Robinson, not even on your team anymore. Tease Tabor, not even in football. Jelani Tavai, he can't play on the field at the same time as your other linebacker and Jared Davis. And frankly, you probably could have gotten Tavai 2 rounds later. You got Kerryon Johnson, who looks like he's going to be cut soon. You've got DeAndre Swift, who could be something we just don't know yet.
And then you have a first-round tight end and a first-round cornerback. A tight end who you don't target and a quarterback who doesn't seem to be able to guard anybody. Oh, man.
I mean,
but yeah, I think it comes down to ownership doesn't really watch the games or, for that matter, care about the team.
I mean, obviously there are some positives with Bob Quinn's draft classes. He found Kenny Galladay in the 3rd. He looks like a stud. You know, Jamal Agnew at one point in time looked like a stud return man, a playmaker there. I'm not seeing it anymore. You know, there were some finds that he had. Beyond that, though, Taylor Decker looks okay. I don't think
that was another though. That you just reminded. That was another ball that was overthrown by Stafford. I remember Jamal Agnew.
Yeah,
deep.
he overthrew Agnew.
He overthrew him.
Taylor Decker is a slightly above average left tackle that we paid a ton of money to, so I'm not overly fond of that right now. He didn't look all that great today. Frank Ragnow looks like a future Pro Bowler. Or
is Frank Ragnow are Kenny Galladay and Frank Ragnow the two lone actual bright spots here?
Jonah Jackson looks like an absolute stud.
Oh yeah, Jonah Jackson.
Jonah Jackson looks like a stud. I ain't even gonna lie, that dude looks legit. The left side of the line looks like it could actually be pretty good. With Frank Ragnow, Jonah Jackson, and Taylor Decker out there, I don't hate that left side of the line at all, especially the interior there, because I think Frank Ragnow and Jonah Jackson are going to be future Pro Bowlers together.
Yeah.
But once again, the Lions just are unable to stop the run at all. At all.
I'm at a loss. My question to you, let's take a little more big picture. Have you officially jumped ship on the season?
I mean, I pretty much jumped ship after the Bears lost. Yeah. And I watched them get destroyed by the Packers by 18 touchdowns. Once this team went 0-2 and they couldn't beat the Packers.
Then there was a lifeline with the Cardinals, but they looked god-awful today, the Cardinals.
That Cardinals team may just be overrated as hell.
Yeah.
And I'll admit it, I was all aboard the Cardinals train. I thought that team was a damn good football team, but my God, do they look bad.
They made the Panthers without Christian McCaffrey look like world beaters.
Uh-huh.
I stupidly because I wanted to go for a cheap option in FanDuel on defense, and I went Cardinals defense across the board. I'm like, at the very least, it's a high floor. Nope. I mean, give them some credit. The Panthers some credit. Teddy Bridgewater had a solid game. He's played all right to start the year. How about that Browns Cowboys game though? My God, that was something to watch. There's one defense that could be worse than the Lions.
The Cowboys?
Allowing 31 points in the first half to the Browns.
I've said it this entire year. I just don't think the Cowboys are straight up any good. I think, again,
the team the Saints tried out on offense today is probably worse than the Browns offense. So
that is probably true. The Cowboys straight up should be 0-4 right now. They got a lucky win against the Falcons.
Yeah.
Straight up should be 0-4. I mean,
this was a golden opportunity for the Lions, and they just
absolutely was. You got the Saints B team today, and you couldn't capitalize. I mean, are there any positives to take out of this game? Special teams once again looked pretty good. I'll give them that.
Yeah, we have a really good punter.
He's a very good punter. Special teams player of the month, man.
Like honestly, these are two games like this week and last week. These were two games that we pegged as losses early on.
We did,
and you had a chance to just. When you can grab two games that you pegged as losses as wins, that's like turning your season around type stuff.
Absolutely.
And then you were going into a bye week and then an easy stretch of your schedule. So you had a chance to get momentum, but that's gone now.
Right. It was obviously disappointing to see the way the Lions played just on both sides of the football today. I mean, and their schedule moving forward, honestly, based on how the Lions are playing, doesn't look as easy.
Not anymore.
No, because the Colts look like a good football team after beating the 3-0 Bears. And I've been on the Colts train all season. I think that's a good football team. The Colts pass defense is
one of the best in football right now.
Absolutely.
You're relying right now on your passing game, so it's going to be a rough go.
I mean, moving forward for the Lions, things don't look that great. I know I still think that they have a softer schedule coming up, but I mean, looking forward, we've got obviously the bye week next week, and nothing's going to happen there because Patricia ain't getting fired, Quinn ain't getting fired. We're stuck with these guys till the end of the year. Do they bring them back at the end of the year? I don't know. If we see things continue the way they are, hell no. They better not. Yeah. Why would you give a 4-win football coach, a guy who's won 14 games in 4 years?
Oh, my God.
But, I mean, moving forward, the Jaguars. Do you have faith that the Lions can beat the Jaguars? Because I don't.
Before this week, I would have said yes. But we literally went against State's B team, and they made us look like a high school team.
Because I think James Robinson would torch us. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody's covering DJ Chark. I think it'll be a shootout. I think there's a good chance there.
This is one of those games that I pegged as a win early on, and I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna say the Lions can beat the Jaguars, but a game that I had them winning like the Falcons, I don't think we're gonna keep up with them anymore. I don't think we're gonna beat the Colts, and then you got to hope the Vikings don't wake up by November. So
I mean, they got to win. They have a win now. I mean. Things don't look great here because you look at a team like the Jaguars that looked like a sure win going forward. Now it's a little bit in doubt. The Falcons looks pretty. I'm pretty pessimistic on that game because I don't think our offense can keep up. Yeah, I don't. I know how bad the Falcons D is, but I don't think we can keep up anymore. The Colts, I don't think there's a chance in hell we win that game. The Vikings, they're starting to wake up a little bit. They put up 31 points today against the Texans. Granted, Texans are terrible. The Washington football team, that's a game you should win. But their defense looks halfway decent. And yours doesn't.
Yeah.
The Panthers, well, I'm not too fond of that game either. The Texans are terrible. I'll give them that.
No, we should be able to beat the Panthers. We're bad, but we're not.
Record. They got a better record than we do.
But we're not losing to the Panthers bad. I hope not, at least.
They got a better record than we do. I think their defense is better than ours, and their offense seems to be clicking just fine. Am I saying the Lions are going to lose out here? No, I'm not. I do think there's some wins in these couple of games or in the next stretch of 7 games. I do think we pull it off against the Jaguars. I think we're a better football team than them. I don't think we beat the Falcons. I don't think we beat the Colts. I don't think we beat the Vikings. I think we beat the Washington football team. I think
I'll give them 5 wins over the next 12 is what I'll give them.
I think we can beat the Texans. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 wins. 5. I'll call a split on the Vikings. So 5 wins over the remainder of the year.
That's what I did. I called a split on the Vikings.
There's just not a lot of positivity to look for here. And honestly, 5 wins, unfortunately, may save Matt Patricia's job.
Even though the ultimatum was we expect to be playoff contenders,
and they're not going to be. Even in this
very clearly
where there's an extra playoff spot, you're not going to be with the 6-win football team.
So, do you think that? So you don't think the Ford stay true to their word then about the actual ultimatum they gave Patricia and Quinn?
I don't know what they do. Because Sheila Ford coming in, I don't know how much she wants to make, I don't know how many feathers she wants to rustle right away. I don't know how much, does she want to go on a coaching search in her first full season as an owner? Her second full season as an owner? Does she want to embark on that? Not only a coaching search, but a GM search as well.
Can we just throw owner search into that? Can we just
I mean, I'd love if the Ford sold the team. I would love it. Just anybody but Tom Gores.
But yeah, there's no reason. I mean, look at here's a stat from Live Sports. Under Matt Patricia, Detroit has become the first team in NFL history to have lost 6 consecutive games in which is led by 10 or more points.
Wow, that's an interesting stat. I'm kind of surprised we're the first to do that.
It almost felt like today we did it like obligatory. Like it was just like let's get that double-digit lead going real quick. All right, now you guys can have the game.
They look so good to start this game, man. I was so happy. I was excited. I was like, oh my God, we could actually turn this one out.
Like,
but in the back of my mind, I knew, oh man, this is setting up like an SOL game.
Every Lions fan was waiting for it.
We didn't have to wait that long this week though.
Instant gratification.
All right, we've ripped on them enough. Let's try to take some positives out of this game. We'll look at some individual players here. I mean,
DeAndre Swift and the punter.
Oh, that was legit. Jack Fox and DeAndre Swift. All right, so DeAndre Swift looks like he can be a gamer. He got 8 touches today. I'd like to see him get into double-digit touches. Not next week, obviously, but against the Jaguars. I want him to be more involved. I'll be straight up with you. I'm starting to grow tired of the AP experiment.
Me too.
He's not very effective anymore. He looked good. He looked okay and good in
situations, and keep it at that.
I would give DeAndre Swift the bulk of the carries, the bulk of the opportunities, maybe mix in a little Kerryon Johnson. Keep AP for the short yardage stuff. Because AP really hasn't looked that great the last few weeks, last couple weeks at least. He looked good to start the year, but obviously teams have figured that one out.
Yep.
I really have no need to see any more AP. 11 for 36 and a touchdown. That's not very good.
Not at all.
He did look like vintage AP on that touchdown run, though. That looked pretty sweet when he just drove right into him.
It feels like he has one obligatory play every week where he has to look like vintage AP, and then he just goes back to being old man AP again.
Yep.
But you get like one vintage AP play a week. It's like that's your quota.
But I'd like to see us go to Swift more. He looks like a pretty good player.
His team putting you to sleep?
Somewhat. Watching that defense play, they look sleepy out there.
Oh man. You know what I've noticed though? Despite how bad this team looks, you could tell how like jaded we are, like how like little affects us anymore as Lions fans, because we're still like just cracking jokes at this point.
We're sitting here laughing at them. I mean, we know this trick and pony. We've seen this game before.
Yeah.
We know how this works. This is no different from anything that we've been exposed to with this team, where they get out to an early lead. I knew not to get too excited. I was a little bit excited. It's the Saints, man. We were playing good. Hey, maybe we can make something happen. Nope. Not at all.
Yeah, I legit thought, after I saw the injury report, I legit thought this game was ours for the taking. I'm like,
they should have taken it.
We should be able to do this.
The way this Saints team looked going into the football game and who they lost during the game, they should have won this game.
Mm-hmm. There is part of me though that because all week they were saying Michael Thomas is going to play. He's going to be ready to play. He's practicing. He's going to be ready to suit up. There is part of me that was like, you know what? Let's not risk re-aggravating the injury. I think we can take him without Michael Thomas. Like that's what part of me thinks happened in that locker room.
You know what's funny is when Alex and I were watching the game, we were thinking the exact same thing. They told him, don't even bother. There's no need. But let's go ahead and look at a couple of the young guys, and we'll go through some of the draft picks here and things, and over the past couple of years, and things that we're looking
quarter season report on the youngins.
Yes, quarter season report on the youngins, and we'll also throw Stafford into that mix as well. Let's start with T.J. Hawkinson. It's a guy we mentioned earlier. What are we looking at for him this year? Is that something that's looking like it could be end up being a solid pick, or are we starting to get a little worried now after we've gone a year and 4 games and we haven't really seen too much?
My worry is twofold, and it's the fact that at least when I see Hawkinson being utilized, he looks good. I'm just trying to figure out why a tight end that you took as high as you took Hawkinson, why you're not utilizing him more. And you can't tell like watching you on TV, you can't tell if it's because he can't get open on his routes or just we're not game planning for him. And I hope it's the latter, because if TJ Hawkinson is suddenly like not able to get separation, that's why we're not going to him, then it looks like a waste of a pick.
I don't know about you, but I saw TJ Hawkinson looked like he was pretty open on quite a few plays today, and we just didn't go his way.
Yeah. There were a couple I remember. It's just I couldn't see. You can't see it on a consistent basis unless they show you replays.
Right.
But so I think I don't know how much. I can't right now put it too much on Hawkinson and say like, oh, he's not living up to expectations. I gotta peg on his coaching staff and say we need to be using this guy more. So That's why I hesitate to say I'm disappointed in Hawkinson. I'm more disappointed with the coach.
So we'll give him an incomplete then.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow, you really are tired from this game, aren't you? Jesus.
Carry on Johnson. What are we thinking there? I think we've answered this question earlier in the show. I think he's on his way out.
Yeah.
I'm not too encouraged by the play he's getting, and he's getting like 8 snaps a game. That's how little they look at him now.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad. Let's continue down the list. Obviously, Kenny Galladay looks good. Let's go to another draft here. Let's go with Jeff. Let's save Jeff Okudah. We'll go with Jonah Jackson. Personally,
I thought you were just going to do this most recent draft and just go quarter report on the rooks.
Guys,
that's what I thought was happening.
We had expectations for a couple of guys coming into the year, and we expect them to be a little bit better. Yeah. And I mean, Jelani Tavai. What have you thought of him so far?
I've seen him make a couple flash plays, but not the kind of impact that I would expect from a linebacker drafting in the second round.
And I agree
the
with
way we reached for him.
He had 1 tackle today, and it was on the punt return. That's not encouraging.
It was on a punt return.
It was. It was on the punt return. He had a great hit, and then that was it. That's all he did today was 1 tackle, and it was on a punt return. Jared Davis, 1 tackle. I don't even know when it was. Looking at Julian Okwara, I believe he was another healthy scratch. That's not looking exciting. That's
Arwariye did not look good today.
Arwariye looked terrible today.
I saw the back of his jersey way too much.
He did have a pass. He did have a pass block or a pass defended today. So there is that, but he got beat a lot today.
Yeah, that's my barometer with corners is how often do I see the back of your jersey in the game.
Jonah Jackson looks like a stud. No question about that. I think he was a very solid pickup in the draft.
No, I think the O-line might be a strong suit for this team.
I do too, because Frank Ragnow looks damn good too.
Does not feel right when I talk about the Lions.
I mean, they paid a hell of a lot of money for Big V to be playing right guard. I'm just saying. That's a lot of money to pay for a right guard there.
And they've invested a lot of draft capital in that O-line.
They did. Looking at... So we mentioned DeAndre Swift earlier. We think he's got potential. We just like him to see the ball more.
Like this is what I'm like going through this. This is what I'm talking about. Like if you look at this offense, I still think Matthew Stafford's a really good quarterback. He had a terrible game, yes. I still think he's a really capable quarterback.
I mean, he's not had a good year though.
Yeah, I think we have a really good running back here in DeAndre Swift that would just need to give more opportunities to. We have a really good offensive line. We have receiving weapons. We have a really good tight end.
Pump the brakes on the really good offensive line. I think we got a couple of guys who are solid. Taylor Decker gets abused against a good pass rusher, and the right side is garbage. Let's pump the brakes. You have a good center and a good left guard. That's it. That's all you got. Because Taylor Decker straight up looks like he doesn't deserve the money he just got. I saw him get beat time after time after time today, and that's without them having arguably they're one of their best pass rushers in Michael Davenport.
But like what I'm saying though is, don't you agree though that on paper our roster is too good to be this bad?
I mean, yeah, I would think so. You've got a top 10 receiver in Kenny Galladay. You've got a running back in DeAndre Swift who on paper looks to be really good, and we've seen flashes. Matthew Stafford is arguably a top 10 quarterback, arguably. You know, he hasn't looked it this year. I think he's been bottom 15 to start the year. But
yeah, what happened to I'm going for the MVP this year? What happened?
Yeah, that died off real quick unless he has an unbelievable turnaround. But on defense, I mean, can we just stop with this Patriot bullshit, bringing in Patriot guys, even though, in all honesty, they are probably the best players on our defense right now?
That was the most bipolar sentence ever.
But
that was a roller coaster of a sentence.
Jesus. It really was. Right. It's so frustrating to watch this team, man. I don't even know how to feel anymore. It just, and looking at
there's
Stafford,
so many issues. Like, have you noticed how scattered our thoughts have been for the last half hour? That's how many issues there are with this team.
It's hard to fit them all in the time we're allotted to.
I feel like Joe Biden in a debate is what I feel like right now. I just like start an idea and
scatterbrained. Yeah. Oh man, and let's hit the elephant in the room with Jeff Okudah. Another game where he just didn't look very good. Are you
starting to get worried?
We gave him a pass having to go up against Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins. We gave him a pass there. He went up against a mixture of Traquan Smith and Emmanuel Sanders today, and he had Trufant back to help him out on the other side with Arwariye. And he still didn't look that great today. Yeah, now is where I'm starting to say, okay, I'm starting to worry a little bit. I know it's game 3. I know it's a big step to the NFL, but we have to compare him to the other guys in his position who were drafted in that area. We're comparing him to the top corners of the world, basically. Mm-hmm. The Patrick Petersons of the world.
Like, the best I can say about him right now is he's a good tackler, and he seems to, at least for the most part, know how to keep himself in position. He just doesn't know how to. He's been terrible at actually making the extra move to break up passes, and you saw that glaringly on that last drive.
I mean, again, going to the names that have been taken high in the draft at corner: Patrick Peterson, Joe Hayden, I believe Deion Sanders was up there as well.
Yeah.
I mean, these are names that I know by no faults of his own in Jeff Okudah, but he's going to be eternally compared to because of where he was taken. And it's not like he wasn't going to be taken top 5, top 10 in this draft. No matter who drafted him, he was going to go there.
Yeah,
Those guys contributed.
You can make that argument that, like, Bob Quinn didn't actually, was it Matt Patricia or Bob Quinn that report came out that there was disagreement in the Lions front office about taking Jeff Okudah. You can make that whole argument all you want, but the point here is that he was a top 5 corner regardless, whether you took him or you took someone else.
Right. Someone else would have taken him at very high in this draft. And comparing him to the other guys, those guys all contributed right away. Yeah. Right away. So to just not see an ability to cover not just the great receivers in the league like we need him to. We need him to be able to cover those guys, but not even to be able to cover the old Emmanuel Sanders of the league, the Traquan Smiths of the league, the Marquez Valdez-Scantlings of the league. We can't even ask him to cover those guys right now. It's getting harder and harder to give him the benefit of the doubt as weeks go by, and we have yet to see him be the guy that we drafted him to be. So yeah, I am growing concerned with this one.
You were hoping a guy like Okudah would give you the freedom to dial up more blitz packages, get more pressure on the quarterback. You don't have to worry about your corners getting beat in the backfield. But
and looking at what we have here, I mean, going into the season, this coaching staff was in front office was given the mandate that they needed to be playoff contenders. They needed to win now. You had a Pro Bowl cornerback, albeit had a bad year last year in Darius Slay. You traded him away and drafted his replacement. You needed Jeff Okudah, his replacement, Darius Slay's replacement, to step in and take Slay's place immediately for this to be a win-now football team. You don't have the luxury of taking the time to develop this guy. Otherwise, why is he playing right now? He needed to jump in, hit the ground running, and be impactful in the defensive backfield from day one. And I have yet to see him be truly impactful on any game. He had a good pick against the Cardinals. That's his only good play he's made through 3 games so far, because he didn't even hit the field in week 1. Things aren't looking too good. So to finish things out, unless you have anything else to add there.
I do have, not there, but I do have one more thing to add in general before we close it out.
Okay. I had one more thing too. I was going to finish it off with that, but go ahead.
I did want to finish off with Matt Patricia's post-game comments.
Oh, please do.
Yeah. Matt Patricia was just kind of, in general, he was talking about the game. He said, we just lost the game. Let's give him credit for this game. Obviously talking about the Saints. They played extremely well, and I know we have a lot of work to do. I think when I came to Detroit, there was a lot of work to do, and that's what we're trying to do. But talking about this year, we're talking about right now, these first 4 games, and obviously today wasn't good enough. I mean, the first issue I take with that is you took over a 9-7 team. There wasn't a ton of work to do.
A back-to-back 9-7 team. You took over a winning football team. You just had to be the notch to take them over the edge. There wasn't a lot of work to do there.
Yeah, when you actively make a team worse, you cannot make the argument of there was a lot of work to do when that came in.
You can't.
That's not an argument you can make.
No.
And then he was asked about all the double-digit leads that his defenses have been blowing, like Green Bay, the 31 unanswered points, and the 35 unanswered today against the Saints. So Matt Patricia commented saying, I don't really think they're all the same thing. If you want to break it down, Chicago obviously was the end of the game. We didn't do a good enough job. I think Green Bay was the halftime swing. We never really recovered in that game. And I thought we obviously jumped out too early against New Orleans, but it was so early in the game. That's just kind of in the first quarter. I think after that, probably didn't play very well in the middle of the game. I thought that we came back at the end of the game and battled, try to give ourselves a chance to win. And obviously we didn't come through. I think from that standpoint, these are different. Last week's game is different. The biggest thing for us really is we need to be more consistent. That sounds like me sitting up at the podium, and I am not an NFL head coach.
I was going to say, is this guy a rocket scientist or is he stupid? I don't care how you spin it. Giving up a double-digit lead, regardless of what quarter of the game it is, it's still giving up a double-digit lead.
Not the same. In Chicago, we gave it up in the fourth quarter. In Green Bay, we gave it up around the middle of the game. And
you know what that tells me?
We gave it up.
You know what that tells me? It means that you can't make adjustments in any part of the football game. It doesn't matter if it's the first, second, third, or fourth quarter. You don't know how to adjust. Congratulations. You sound like an even bigger idiot. We're all now dumber for having listened to that statement today.
You know what we should do? I think when we get a new coach, we should retain Matt Patricia as an assistant and let him call like the first quarter, and then just let someone else take over from there.
I don't know how he can get away with these comments and Sheila Ford just not be throwing things out at the wall.
I had the best defensive play call of all time.
Sure. Wonderful. You got lucky.
You
the
allowed
Seahawks
35
messed
points to
up.
the Saints B team. All right. You can't keep talking your one play call that I don't even believe was totally on you.
No, I don't either. I think he was very fortunate that the Seahawks decided to throw the football from the one when you have Marshawn Lynch in your backfield. I don't know. Those comments were awful. I feel like I am dumber for having listened to him talk. And this dude's supposed to be a rocket scientist.
Yep.
Anyways, I did want to throw out one more thing before and ask you one more question before we close out here. With all the very recent issues with COVID going around the league, are you at all concerned about the league being able to finish out the season at this point?
Well, shoot, the Lions almost had to cancel this game.
We've now had 2 games get moved due to COVID. Titans, Steelers, and Chiefs, Pats.
Yeah, it was like a ticking time bomb in terms of when was COVID going to enter the NFL. Like, we had a clean first few weeks.
I think they were covering it up, to be completely honest with you.
And then, bam, it kind of hit like an avalanche.
It seems a little bit too convenient that people start to ask a bunch of questions. Why has the NFL had 0 COVID cases when they're not in a bubble and college football's getting like 10 plus a week? It just doesn't make sense. Why is there 0? And then all of a sudden, boom, COVID, boom, COVID, boom, COVID. You've got COVID. You've got COVID. You've got COVID. Just all in the same week.
Like, I don't think it's ever going to get to a point where we have so many players diagnosed with the virus that, like, you have to cancel a week or you end up having to consider canceling the season. But at the same time, unless you don't take extra measures, I do feel like we're going to have random games postponed every single week. And it's going to come to a point where, like, you're going to be sitting at like week 16 and you're slowly postponing games. So it's going to come to a point where you're going to have to find a better solution than what you're doing right now.
Well, I saw a report this morning that they were possibly looking at a week 18 to have for COVID rescheduled games. I mean, they're at a situation where if one guy gets COVID, they're looking at
playoff week 18.
Yeah, they're looking at possibly. I mean, one guy gets COVID, they're looking at potentially canceling that game. There's got to be some other protocol that they can use that if one guy gets COVID, you don't just cancel the game. 2 guys get COVID, 3 guys get COVID. You know, you have a 55 or 52-man roster for a reason. I understand players like Cam Newton getting COVID is a big impact, but you know what? That's the nature of the NFL in today's day and age. We haven't really seen too many games get canceled in college football because of it. Obviously, we saw TCU have a couple games or a game or 2 get dropped.
Like, obviously, you got to test the rest of the team, make sure no one else has it.
Right.
But, like, if the rest of the team comes up clean, then, yeah, you just hold the player out like it's a normal injury kind of thing.
It was a little fishy to see 0 COVID cases, but all of a sudden the hamstring injury number just skyrockets. That was a little odd.
I mean, the hamstring thing makes sense, though, because you do have the shortened off season.
It was the perfect scapegoat. Because you had the shortened off season. It's the perfect injury timetable. It was the perfect scapegoat. I'm telling you. Oh man. Either way.
Yeah, I don't know if like the season's in jeopardy getting canceled, but if it keeps going the way it went this week, you're gonna have to make some changes. Either if you're not making changes in terms of the precautionary ends, you're going to have to make changes in terms of scheduling because it's not gonna you're not gonna be able to sustain it the way it's gonna.
I
go
will
based on
say
this.
this, and there is one thing that does concern me in terms of jeopardizing the season. It's the fact that we're now seeing games get rescheduled on multiple games get rescheduled in the same week because of COVID, and we haven't hit a full second wave yet in this country. Whereas Europe is now seeing it, and we were a couple months behind them to begin with. I am starting to worry about, in the event of a second wave, what does the NFL do then? So that concerns me a little bit about the potential. But again, that concerned me before the season started, is what happens during a second wave in the fall or winter or whenever it comes. So that concern's always been there. But it does concern me a little bit about how the NFL will react if there is a second wave that doesn't end up coming here. So that's all I got. Anything else, Dad?
That's all I got.
All right, guys. Thank you again for listening. Sorry this football team is so depressing.
I'm looking forward to decompressing from the Lions over the next 2 weeks.
We got to find topics to talk about for the bye week.
We'll talk some draft.
Ooh, okay. I like it. All right. All right, guys. Thank you again. Thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast as well. Andrew, thank you also for joining me. And
Yes,
we will catch you guys next week. Follow us on Twitter @RealFanReport if you have any questions or anything like that. Also, check out our Fanalist podcast. It's the fantasy football podcast. We do dailies or daily talk. We do daily fantasy talk like FanDuel, DraftKings. We do season long talk as well. Keep it the
And
way.
don't get mad at us if someone we recommend at the start of the week has coronavirus.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Cam Newton. Put my faith in you.
We'll catch you guys next week. This has been the Fan Reporters. Bye, fans.
For fans.
Thank you guys again. Peace out.
Peace.